Hi, this is Dr. Scott, and today we're going to get into a question, and this is a real interesting question of how it goes. But how does a UBI destroy an economy? And a UBI is called a Universal Basic Income. The very first time I ever heard about it, and I'm just telling you, I heard about it late, was in 2016. And I didn't know who Bernie Sanders was. At the time, he was Democrat. Now he's gone independent. And I mean, Bernie, really old guy, and obviously he's got tons of money, many, many houses, and he's always pitching for the poor. Like, doesn't really match, dude, right? And so universal basic income is a concept that says every person in a country should have, some type of basic income ability on top of whatever job they're doing. Now, we semi have that in the way that we do that with Social Security. We semi do that when we have someone who is on welfare or disability kind of thing, right? But those aren't what I'm really going to attack. And obviously, we could talk about welfare a million ways. I want to leave those aside, okay? If you're on Social Security, you're on disability, or you're on welfare for whatever reason, I mean, I want you to leave those conversations aside because UBI never talks about that. What UBI is saying is every single person in the nation, other than, and if you're on the top end of the scale, let's say you're making $150,000 or more, or whatever their number that they could come up with, right? It depends on the system. If you made that much money, what would they would say is, or made less than that number, what is that UBI? Is it $1,000? Is it $3,000 or whatever, right? So that's what the Great Reset people want. And let's just say that their number is $3,000 a month. So in the Great Reset mentality, here's what they do. They go, okay, if everyone had $3,000 a month, that's great, and you work a job. But you know what? Here's what happens. If they're paying $3,000 a month, they're going to ask for something. And if you're doing a job they don't like you doing, we're going to make you do something else. If they're the employer, they get to make the choices, right? If you're taking that money, then you have to live with those choices. And we don't think about that. These lots of socialists, lefties don't ever think about a government might put something on you that you don't really want. But that's the Great Reset. Then we've seen some of the patriot community who has heard things like straw man and birth certificate stuff and sees these kinds of funds. Let me show you this little question, right? If we give Americans 400,000 per American, that will destroy our economy. And he's doing a quote here, right? Kind of crazy hair guy. And it's this thing called financial physics. I've never really looked at this guy, so I don't know anything. But if printing tens of thousands of fake dollars a month to give to illegals or sending trillions of dollars to other countries, he couldn't spell that right, won't explain. Again, he's using a system of like, wait a second, if that's happening, if we're spending tons of money for illegals and other kinds of things, well, why can't we just give it to us? Well, because there's a point in time where you can't afford it, and we're at that point in time. First, dude, can't afford the second paragraph here or second sentence here. We're past the dead point of it can't affect it anymore. But let me just answer it in a very unique way. Now, some guy got really mad when I told him Google this. Like, you could do any search engine. I don't care which search engine, but it actually comes up with the same basic answer. So this was done, and just as an AI kind of thing. Again, use anything you want to. And I just typed in the statement, what would happen if every person in America was given $1 million? Okay? So here's what happens. It means the dollar would just drastically decrease, potentially leading to a situation where millions of dollars doesn't even buy what it would in essence. And so here's some of the things that it talks about, which I think is pretty interesting. an inflation surge. What do you mean? Your purchasing power would decrease dramatically because there would be a sudden spike in goods. Like everyone has $1 million, they're going to run out and buy a car or whatever they have to buy. Like there would be no goods. And so what would happen is that, the car dealership would run out of cars and they're going, well, if we're going to sell this in this car that comes in, I'm going to sell it for double. I'm going to sell it for triple. And it would cause a rapid level of inflation. There would be massive market reduction because here's what happens. People would stop working. Like they would, and then we wouldn't have the inventory in there. Then we would have shift in the spending patterns because they would be going for high, net worth kind of things, right? And there would be just massive bubbles that would be ready to pop. There would be a massive social impact. Well, some people are going to, pay off the debts, invest in future again. Most people are not going to do that, right? And so what I'm trying to tell you, and see what it would cost is about $335 trillion to do that. Now, people say to me, yeah, but Scott, there's plenty of money in the St. Germain funds or whatever you want to pick. You think that's just for $335 trillion? You just want to drop it on Americans? Or what about people in Congo? Oh, then everyone gets it. Well, now we have multi-trillions of dollars into quadrillions and hundreds of quadrillions of dollars. What it does is it devalues a gold-backed currency, which is what we're going to. That is never the answer. I know this dude, I don't know why he's called a financial physics kind of thing. It's kind of a cute title with crazy hair kind of boy. But the answer is this doesn't work. It's a very, very short-term mentality. And I see this quite a bit as a short-term mentality. They just go, well, why can't I get mine? And then I have the people that say this, oh, okay, fine, Scott. What if we just did it at $3,000 a month or $5,000 a month, but they made sure you had to work? It's called the UBI. And here's what happens. If you made, on average, and by the way, the American average is around $60,000 a year right now, okay? So just real simple, let's just say you made $5,000 a month, right? Just come up with any number you want to, right? But to get that $5,000, you actually had to work kind of hard. You had to do some hard stuff. And maybe you even have a commission, tips, bonus, whatever structure. And let's just say the bonus structure was $1,500 a month. So you only really made $3,500 base and $1,500 bonus. Because the reality is, I'm going to share with you how this works on a commission structure point. What happens is that you have to work extra hard to get that $1,500, but you get paid for coming to work, doing the normal rigmarole, right? And then what happens is that suddenly, now you got, and just make it an easy number, $3,000 a month. So you're thinking, I'm going to make $8,000 more a month. Then what happens is you stop working that hard. I don't care who you are. It's not worth it. So you'd put in a little less, type of effort toward that $1,500. Let's say you only make a couple $100. You don't care because it's a $1,300 loss to a $3,000 gain or $1,700. You're making $1,700 in net more than you were before. You're happy, fat and sassy. But here's what happens. The production of that facility, whatever they do, and doesn't matter if you're in a salary position, pure salaried, or a salary or bonus and base structure. What happens is that business owners, the business that are trying to do it, going, we have very, very unproductive staff. And we're not doing as well, and we have this, and guess what? It becomes a multitude of problems, and we go right back to this conversation of, guess what? It ain't working. Because it would create that same level of loss of goods. And so what would happen is that they'd go, fine, we're done, and you would lose your job. And now you're living on $3,000 a month. Well, at least I was doing okay. Yeah, but what happens is that you still think that you can spend with that money. And the answer is, after a while, the inflation would just go through the roof. Again, you introduced way more money than the economy really was made to accomplish. And that's the same problem that we have with a fiat currency. And the answer is, there is no UBI, period. No, can Doge give you back $5,000? I don't have a problem with that. What if Doge and President Trump decided to come up with killing off this IRS tax and giving people 2 or 3 years of taxation? At $50,000 a year, I've done some of the math on this, but let's just say at $50,000 a year, that would be $11,000 in a year. Or if you made $60,000, it'd be about 14. So let's just say that $60,000, because we've been using that several times, 14 times 3, of just saying 3 years of a time frame, would be $42,000. Well, that'd be great, right? Now, it's that $42,000 is probably enough to buy, a Honda Accord or whatever that might be. But it's not going to like mess with the economy if you gave people $42,000 as a payback. I don't have a problem with that. Like, I don't know that it will do that. I don't know that it won't do that. I know that there'll be some level of give back, but it'll be very tiny. And it will not be something that people think they can quit their job and throw their hands up in the air. If you didn't spend much in the IRS, you probably won't get as much. Which means there's never anything that's always fair. And that's a really difficult thing for a lot of people who are just looking to, I want to get mine because I've been wronged. Well, everyone's been wronged. How do you fix that? You stop the wrong. It is what it is. There is no fairness on this side of the veil. It'll be justice in heaven. And you don't realize how unjust we live. And we are not ready for that level of fairness that God would apply to us. Okay? So guys, calm down. I know it's easy to think that we're going to get all this money. And the answer is, you're not. You're not going to get all that kind of money. And there's the reason why. Thanks so much.